Tying up some pheasant tail nymphs today. This is probably one of the best nymphs that you can actually have in your trout box or panfish box if you're heading out to do a little bit of nymph fishing. Very, very versatile pattern. This, technically speaking, is the American version of the pheasant tail nymph. The originator of this, Frank Sawyer, did a little bit different version with just wire and pheasant tail, no peacock herl or anything in it. But it is still very, very versatile fly. You can do a lot with this. Like I said, nymph fishing for trout or for panfish. And you can tie them in a lot of different sizes, bigger sizes for the panfish. It's a pretty basic nymph and one definitely to have in your nymph box. So that's pheasant tail nymph. I'll go ahead and get started. Start the pheasant tail nymph with my hook and the vise. This is a Mustad 3906B, a size 10. Generally, these nymphs are even tied in size 14s and 16s. Seen them as small as 18s before. But for the sake of the video, I'm going to tie this in a size 10, which is a quick tip if you're tying a new fly you've never tied before. Especially if you're wanting to fish for trout and you're wanting to use small nymphs in size, say, 16 or even small dry flies. Tie the first few on a larger size hook, a 10 or maybe even 8 or something like that, so that you understand the materials and you understand how the fly is put together. Then it's just a matter of proportioning down. So it's a little bit easier if you just start big. I debarb the hook. The thread I'm using Danville 6/0 in black. I've already waxed this thread. I'm going to attach my thread, the end of the body. I'm going to bring this down to just to the point of the hook. The tail on the pheasant tail nymph is just made out of pheasant tail. A lot of tails in there. Pretty much the whole body, with the exception of some peacock herl, is made out of ringneck pheasant tail. I'm going to select, I don't know, I would say I've got probably at least 20, maybe even 25 barbs here. It depends on one, the size of the fly and how thick you want some of this to be. Remember, this is not only going to be the tail, but it's also going to end up being the body. So I'm going to strip those off. And I'm going to tie these in. I want the tail to be about a shank length long. I'm going to get just a wrap or two in there to collect that down to the hook. I'm going to tie in my rib. For the rib, I'm using a copper wire. This is a UTC copper wire in a size small. I'm going to tie that rib in right now, still running my thread back down to the end of the body. And the reason that I'm doing it this way, leaving my thread here, tying things in and moving down to the end of the body, is that I can now take the excess or the rest of that pheasant tail and wrap it in, because then it will become the body, the abdomen of our little nymph. When you are tying this, it is important to use some pheasant tail fibers that are very long. So you don't want to use a lot of them that are up here that might be shorter, simply because you're going to run out of pheasant tail. You could always do this in 2 steps also, by the way. If you wanted to just tie in the tail, cut it, tie in some additional that's a little longer, it's up to you. But I'm going to take that pheasant and start wrapping it around the hook shank, letting it all kind of flatten out along the hook shank. If it is short, then just use your thumb and index finger as you're wrapping this around to make certain that it's not unwrapping while you're grabbing these ends and bringing them around. Now this is right up at the end of the abdomen, getting into the thorax section, so I'm quite long enough there on the body. Cut away the excess. And to add a little bit of protection, the rib gives it a nice segmented look, a little bit of flash there, but it also, more importantly, adds protection because I'm going to counter wrap that the other way that I wrapped in the pheasant tail for the body. This will, in turn, wrap over those barbs and secure them better. Now I'm going to take some more pheasant tail here. This time I'm going to grab probably a good 30 or so because I need to have a bunch of them. This is going to be our Wingcase as well as legs. So I want to make certain that I'm collecting a bunch of these. Otherwise, my Wingcase and legs will end up being kind of sparse. So I've got these together. The tips don't have to be just perfect, but I'm going to tie these in. I want to measure these so that those tips all go back maybe about halfway down the actual tail of the fly. So I want to measure this so these go about halfway down. If you want the resulting legs to be a little bit longer on the sides, then at this point you may measure this all the way down the end of the tail. It's up to you. I'm going to tie these in, keeping these on top. I'm going to I got a few of them that are a little bit short there. So I'm going to fiddle with these just a little bit. I've got these right here that are a little bit short. I'm going to pull those out just a little bit more. I would rather have them a little bit long than short. There we go. Now they're about even. Trim away the excess here. Keeping these collected on top, I'm going to wrap down to make that the thorax portion right here. And the thorax is just Peacock Herl. So I'm going to get, you could do 2 or 3 on this size hook. I'm going to use 3 Peacock Herls here. This is just some strung Peacock Herl. I'm going to tie these in, anchoring those in all the way down the end of the thorax. Not quite up to behind the eye of the hook yet. Then I'm going to wrap these in. If I were tying these in size, say 14s, 16s, probably use only 1 Peacock Herl. I'm going to actually wrap backwards over this just a little bit to get some extra wraps of Peacock Herl in there. And that is just to give it a little bit more body on this larger hook. Secure those in, and then I'll trim away the excess. Now our Wingcase, like I said, is made out of these tail fibers. You want to grab these, bring those forward, keeping those all pinched together on top. I'm going to tie that in right behind the eye of the hook, 2 or 3 wraps. Then I'm going to split the tips of these This is where this gets really kind of tricky on real small hooks. I want to split the tips here down both sides. Once you get those kind of going, you can generally just kind of push these back. Problem is getting them even. Another option, if you so choose, would be to just tie these in separate. Get those facing rearward. Now we can start putting some thread wraps on here. To anchor these legs in that direction. Just going to make a small little head here, having all of these legs kind of out to the sides. Again, if you wanted your legs to be longer, say you want them to actually go all the way the length of the body here, then you're going to measure initially instead of halfway down the tail. Maybe the length of the tail are a little bit longer. And one advantage there is it gives you more to work with when you are folding these back. Try to work those out so that they're more on the sides and not like a collar. Clean that up just a little bit, and we shall put in a whip finish. A little bit of head cement, maybe some trimming, mostly culling of some of these legs. Some of them are sticking up. Certainly don't have to do this. Fishing this fly, trust me, it will fish just perfect. So, and then I'll put some head cement on the Pheasant Tail Nymph, and we're done. So that is the Pheasant Tail Nymph, and as I mentioned in the introduction, that's more or less the American version of the Pheasant Tail Nymph. So, if you search around enough, you'll actually see even some other variants of the Pheasant Tail Nymph. Certainly Frank Sawyer's version, as well as this American version, but that is a basic Pheasant Tail Nymph. Again, one of your, most versatile trout nymphs. It's a great panfish fly as well. Caught many, many panfish on this little fly. You can add some weight to it and even make a bead on it. Add a little bit more to it, but Pheasant Tail Nymph is a very, very versatile nymph to have in your box. Thanks for watching today. Thank you for joining me at the Vise today. I hope you learned a new pattern, at least a tip or trick here and there. If you'd like to help Dress Irons, you can like, comment, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things for the video. You can also head out to dressedirons.com where you can buy flies, tools, stickers, and merch, or you can join a growing community over on Locals at the Dressed Irons Fly Tying Guild. You can also donate to Dressed Irons if you want through the link at the bottom of the description. I thank everybody for their ongoing support, as it really does help the creation of these videos. And what's important is to remember, only fly tying. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.